Hey there, this is Jenny Chen. I'm the founder of 3D Heals. Welcome to the Lattice podcast, the official podcast for 3D Heals. This is where you will find fun but in-depth conversations with technological game changers, creative minds, entrepreneurs, rule breakers, and more, focusing on how we can use 3D technologies like 3D printing and bioprinting to reinvent healthcare and even life sciences. This podcast will also include AMA or Ask Me Anything sessions, past Instagram live interviews with influencers, and other direct engagements with our tribe. Okay, everybody, I think it's time. Thanks for joining us for this episode. I invited the author behind 3D Printing Dentistry account on Instagram, Dr. Dániel Veghs, to join us. So nice to meet you again, Dániel. So Dániel graduated from University of Semmelweis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's in Budapest. It's one of the best universities in the country. And he graduated in 2015 as a doctor of dentistry, but he also had Ph.D. focusing on diabetic dentistry. So I'm really fascinated with the fact there is a subspecialty in that area, but also not too surprised. So Dániel, why don't you share with us your journey with 3D printing? How did you get into it? Who exposed you to this technology?
Hi, Jenny, and hi, everybody. Thank you very much. It's a big honor for me to have an opportunity to speak with you about 3D printing, and especially in dentistry. My field in dentistry, my story is very simple. So a couple of years ago, me and my colleagues attended a couple of congresses, dental congresses and diabetes congresses. And in dental congresses, we saw in the booth that there are a couple of exhibitors who has 3D printer, and that's when I first met with 3D printing technology. And after that, I was very interested in, and we made a lot of efforts to transport one of the printer to our department at the Semmelweis University to share with our colleagues how this technology is working. And I started following a couple of internationally known dentists, such as Michael Shearer and 3D Heals, for example. And I'm getting familiar with the technology as a outsider, and thankfully for our interest and our social media activism, it is now available also at our university. At the Semmelweis, we have a 3D center, a 3D laboratory where there are printers, where we are able to create dental products which we are using in our clinical care. And this could be some introduction or some initial paths for research and postgraduate and undergraduate material of the courses, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when you got started, if I'm correct, there were no university offering in terms of education focusing on 3D printing or 3D printing in dentistry, right?
If I want to be punctual, I have to say that maybe there was some mention about 3D printing, but as a core subject, there was no separated subject for 3D printing. So there was digital dentistry, but 3D printing is something which is very new in our education as well. So new subject started in our university from the last semester, which is dedicated for 3D printing in medical and dental field as well. So this is a new wave, and we are very interested in to be in the first line who can broadcast this knowledge between colleagues. So from international experiences, we can transform it in our education, undergraduate and also postgraduate education as well. A lot of dentists are very interested in this technology. A lot of dental laboratories are also, but somehow this knowledge was not centralized. And we are trying to give them motivation and also a knowledge what they can use in their everyday life.
Yeah, and it's an interesting subject that we talked last time about how we can leverage social media to learn 3D printing and connect with each other. And I think this is one of the major reasons I'm doing the Instagram live events, is because I want to have a FaceTime with people behind the accounts who are doing the work Why don't you share with us your experience in that, since you're very passionate about that subject?
Thank you very much. So we started as a hobby. We set up a page for 3D printing in dentistry to gather connections, and we know a very limited number of people who had 3D printer in dental laboratory, for example. So that was the only way to get effective knowledge, because the publications are also very limited from this field. So we need to collect some kind of experience, which direction we need to face, and what kind of 3D printer is optimal for us, for example, or what is the experience of the support and the availability of the printers. Is there any special software what we need to invest besides the 3D printer? And of course, after a while, we got over 1,000 followers. We were able to create connections in the social media. For example, we got STL files from different dentists when we asked for help for our tryout prints. So this was something which was very valuable for us, and we are very thankful for it. I think the community behind 3D printing is very, very strong, and they are always there to help you if you're stuck somewhere. You don't know how to solve the problem, and maybe you cannot reach out the company who is distributing the printer. So I think that this kind of help, this is a win-win situation in this community, and I think this is very valuable. So we are very thankful for all the help what we get. And now we are almost 2,500 followers in Instagram, and that's how we're trying to keep this loop, collecting people who are interested in 3D printing in dentistry. If there are questions, we are trying to make a bond between dental labs and dentists, for example, or average people who are interested in 3D printing, or dental students, for example. We got some notifications and emails from dental students. They are interested in how they can join research, or what is this 3D printing all about. I think we have to start from the basics, because an average dentist, I think that because it was a lack of education previously, so this is a new wave. Those colleagues who graduated from the last couple of years, they are also interested in digital technology, and 3D printing is something which they need to learn, because when they need to invest for their private practice or for the dental laboratory, they need experience. They need to learn which type of 3D printer they need to invest, and advantages, disadvantages, because there are a couple. So not every printer is the same. Of course, the amount of money you need to invest is also different. So the indication areas are very, very in a wide range.
Yeah. So, if you're going to start all over again from the beginning, what would be some of your advice for people if they want to do the same thing? But, it's kind of asking, what were your mistakes and challenges? If you could go back in time, what would you do differently?
My number one advice is to follow pages like 3D Heals. This is a very useful social media page, and if they want to learn not just the dental field, but especially dentistry, Jenny, you have a lot of contents, and with the contents you are able to find those colleagues, those dentists who are very actively using this technology in their daily basis. So this is the main line they need to follow. And the second one, you can make mistakes, because life is different in every country. I think because of it's a very new not new technology, because it's from the 1980s, but these compact size printers, the availability for dentists is a new wave for us. You cannot make mistakes. You need to follow the dentists, you need to follow the pages which are actively involved in social media with 3D printing, and then you can have an overview. For example, you have that kind of budget, what are the possibilities? And of course you can compare the products. Is this product enough for you? This product resolution, for example, or accuracy is the printer's accuracy is optimal for your daily basis, or you need a faster and better accurate printer, then you need to invest more. So you can learn these experiences due to social media, which is very, very amazing. You don't need to speak with the manufacturers or distributors, because they will say their product is almost the best or always the best, but you can learn from other colleagues who have already experienced the printing process and the product manufacturing.
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of different goals why people join social media. Some people want to sell their products, obviously, and other people just want to meet other individuals. And I think it's a great platform to discover who is most impactful to your future career. And that's one of the reasons I started this, is because I want to discover innovators such as yourself, early adopters, to see what your experiences are with these new technologies, because my primary purpose is also to invest in companies who are producing products that people want. So it's quite interesting for me to see all these different applications using 3D printing and talk to individuals like yourself to see what applications matter in dentistry and what is scalable and what makes economic sense. So with that, I want to lead to some of the examples. I know you have tons of examples. So why don't you just show a couple with us and tell us what they are and why?
All right. So what you said, I totally agree. I think that the main reason we need to get busy with 3D printing is this is an old gypsum model. What you can see, this gypsum model is created after you are taking an impression, a conventional silicone impression from a patient, and then you get the gypsum model. So this is basically the way how these things is manufactured in a dental laboratory. So what is different with 3D printing is if you have, for example, digital information, it can be with an intraoral scanner. So there are existing intraoral scanners which can create tons of pictures about the oral cavity and the teeth. They are able to create an STL file from these pictures, or if you have a lab scanner, you can scan the gypsum model as well. So this is the two way to get the STL file. And then this is a 3D printed arch. So this is basically made from resin. This is a finalized product. When you are printing, it looks like this. So with the supports and with everything which is coming out from the printer. I think there are three main reasons why this will be the future. Dentists are always looking after their money, so they double check when they invest, and the products need to be standardized. So the product on Monday and the product on Friday should be exactly the same. It should be accurate, and it should be faster and cheaper. So basically these are the reasons why 3D printing will be very popular in dental laboratories and dentists as well. If the printer is accurate and fast enough, then it will have an exchange with the gypsum models, and also when we are creating manufacturing products, we will be able to create for patients a one-day dentistry treatment, which means that the patient comes in the morning, and when the patient leaving, the patient will have the prosthodontics, for example. It can be a provisional prosthodontics, but the patient is not leaving our office without any kind of prosthesis or prosthodontics. So this is something which is very, very interesting. For example, with a denture or a provisional crown or bridge. It means that if you are preparing the teeth, or you need to extract and do some implantation, between the time period the patient is healing and getting the final result, the final product, the final prosthodontics, the patient will have something which called provisional, which is a light, easy product in the patient mouth, and it's cheap enough for everybody and accurate. So the patient is able to eat or have some aesthetics with this denture, for example, provisional denture. And this is something which the patients are looking for. So something if you have a problem with your teeth and you are getting the confidence or collecting confidence to look after a doctor or dentist. A lot of patients come to us and say, I have the time now, and please do what we can do today or as fast as possible. So this 3D printing technology could be a result or a solution for these patients and for these dental offices. And I cannot say it is the future because it's here. 3D printing technology is here, so it's absolutely the present.
So are you, when you talk about these provisional dentures or crowns, are you actually deploying them in your patients, in your practice?
It is possible. With not every material is available yet in Europe, but there are some which is available. So it is absolutely possible to create 3D printed dentures or 3D printed provisional crowns for patients, and we are able to do it in our everyday life. Yes, so we can order this product at the university from the university laboratory. Okay. So it's not a special thing. We are able to order it. So there are two ways. We are able to use the milling machine and the 3D printing machine. And the products from the milling machine, usually they are more expensive. So when we need a provisional, it is an easier way to create it in the 3D printing machine because the milling machine can have more premium products to manufacture. And if we are doing provisionals with the milling machine, then it will be busy, so we are not able to create the more expensive cases. So that's why the laboratories prefer 3D printing, because there can be a 3D printer and the milling machine. Milling machine is doing the zirconium or ceramic prosthodontics. Right. 3D printer is able to print provisional.
Now, I've heard in the past that 3D printed temporaries or provisional structures mechanically may not be equivalent of a milled structure. Where is the research now here, especially in dentistry, and can 3D printing replace the milling part for these at least provisional devices?
This is a very good question. I can tell you that even between dentists, we don't have a consensus about it. So as far as I experienced, the gold standard is the milled restorations, and the 3D printing or 3D printed restorations are always the way if we do provisional. So at this moment, I would say that 3D printing is an amazing opportunity for us to create something provisional. But there are existing permanent crown materials, for example, what we can use. But if we are not staying in the prosthodontics, but going other disciplines such as orthodontics or oral surgery, we are able to create surgical guides or orthodontic splints with 3D printing, and they are absolutely correct quality, absolutely accurate. So these things helps us to treat our patients in a more precise way. For example, if you are using a surgical guide for an implant surgery, which means that you have you lost one of your teeth, and we need to do an implant there, an implant surgery. One titanium implantation needs to be done. Then, if we are printing a guide, we can be sure that the position of the implant due to the surgery will be the closest to the perfect orientation. This means that this guarantees us to have a GPS during the surgery, so we know where we want to arrive, and this helps us to provide our patients the best care which is possible. And this is absolutely a everyday restoration or everyday product surgical guide in dental field.
And who's producing these surgical guides these days? I mean, does this have to be a dental lab, or do you think a dentist can do it themselves?
There are a couple of requirements to create these kind of restorations or these kind of products. You need to have the software, and usually the dental laboratories have that kind of software, which we are able to plan and create a surgical guide. However, there are a lot of dental offices which has a so-called in-house laboratory. So it's absolutely possible that those those dentists who have the ambition and the interest to create this kind of planning, they are able to plan themselves and print this surgical guide as soon as possible, so within a couple of hours, which is very good for the patient. The patient comes in the morning, and in the afternoon we will have the perfect surgical guide. Or if you have a previous diagnostic, a previous CBCT, then if the patient CBCT is with the dentist, we are able to plan that kind of surgical guide before the patient comes in. So when the patient comes, we already have the surgical guide, and we are able to do the surgery on site.
Yeah, I mean, if that day comes soon, it will be amazing for a lot of patients. So this interview obviously is not to promote products or printers or any kind of software, but I think people would like to know, you know, for our starter, and you also mentioned that different applications probably needs different printers and different softwares. Can you just give us a couple of names of printers or softwares that you think people could look into?
What is more important, I think, I can, of course, I can. And if you visit any of the websites, which is 3D printing companies, you can see that there is a dedicated subpage for dentistry. Almost every 3D printing manufacturer has a dedicated page for dentistry. But the most common 3D printers in dentistry are, for example, Formlabs, 3D Systems, NextDent Printer, Ashiga, Sprintray, Vegh, Vegh, Satori. So these printers are used in Vision Tech. And you also need some software to plan. There are free softwares and paid softwares. Free software, you have limited opportunity to plan the product. For example, Mesh Mixer is a very commonly used software. And there are upgraded software such as 3Shape or ExoCAD, which you need to have to create the perfect product, the perfect plan, which you can transfer to the printer's software and do the printing. But we are also very curious, so we are running the survey, for example, to collect the experiences from dental laboratories. What are their experiences, and what are the pros and cons with the printers, because there are tons of pros and cons, and you are not able to find these informations in the manufacturer's website. So we need our colleagues. We need the colleagues to let us know. These are anonymous surveys, so it's very useful. It's very useful.
Well, Daniel, you know, like we talked last time, I think this kind of objective third-party survey to figure out what is really good for specific applications is going to be very useful to a lot of people, and we should try to figure out how to share this result. I mean, I think I got to know your website first because you were calling for a survey. From almost a lot of your posters are calling for a survey. So why don't you tell us, do you have any insights of the data you collected so far? I mean, what are you seeing right now? I mean, we're not completed yet, but I'm just curious.
You should. So you should complete as well. But what is very interesting is the fact that the accessibility of the printers are not the same in everywhere. So it takes a while when you want to invest in a printer. Sometimes you need to wait a lot of time, which is a disadvantage. And also the support behind the printers are not always the same. So you need really decide previously which printer you are investing in, and the distributor has a big role in the investment. So if you feel that the distributor is not taking the time to help you out, even in the planning phase, then I think that even the brand is very good, then you should compare with other printers what you want to invest. But most of the printers are very reliable, but sometimes there are problems, and if there is a problem, it is matter how fast the distributor is able to react, or maybe the manufacturer. So we got a couple of very valuable feedbacks that some manufacturers are very customer friendly, and there are problems in some other brands, and there is a geographical difference as well. So it's not the same, for example, in Western Europe and Eastern Europe. So this is something which is very valuable information. That's why social media is very important to bond together these colleagues. And if somebody has a problem, for example, in Eastern Europe, maybe there is a solution from Western Europe which was previously happened, and it's very easy to fix, and you don't have to wait a week long and send back the printer and ask for special assistance. So that's why this community, what you are also running, very good, and congratulations again. And also we are very honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Well, actually, you know, based on this conversation, I think, Daniel, we could do a joint survey where we share data with everybody focusing on this. And I have a couple of other dental experts who are also on social media, and they can also share. And then, you know, some way that we can have this regularly shared survey results to actually have a feedback for the manufacturers as well, so that they can deliver better machines, better product services. I think it will be valuable information for them as well. I mean, if people in Eastern Europe is not doing well, they should know, because that's also a valuable part of the customers.
We are happy to do that. I didn't want to put Eastern Europe in a red flag, but there are problems in Western Europe as well. So what I said, that in everywhere there are problems, and the process how they solve the problem can be different. So this community and these feedbacks can help not just the manufacturers, the distributors, and the manufacturers again, which distributors they need to work with.
Yeah, no, the other thing I do want to mention, actually, user base is pretty important as well. If you have a machine that has a really large user base, for example, I use Prusa, which is very, I don't know about the customer support, I never really asked for any, but the user support is so great because of the other people who are using the machine can help me out. That was super helpful. So if you have a machine that's super popular, even if the customer support is still a little bit lacking, because maybe it's a cheaper machine, it's still pretty good. So knowing who is using what machine and how many people are using it is probably very helpful too.
Exactly, it can help a lot. And as I said, people can help each other. And there are a lot of communities on the Facebook, in the Instagram, LinkedIn, and other social media platforms where you can learn a lot. So even when you are just browsing the videos, browsing the contents, what you are also posting very in a regular basis, basically, this is very useful, and maybe you can find a solution there.
Absolutely. And then Daniel, I know you showed us a model just a couple of minutes ago, and that's just for a model. Why do we need a model like this?
Yes. For example, before we start to create any kind of restoration, we need to scan the patient and see the relation of the upper and lower jaw, how they connect. So this connection is helping us, giving us a guide. How big is the occlusal space, for example? What kind of restoration is advised for the patient? If the patient has, for example, some bad habits like bruxism, it's very easy to detect on a model or also in the mouse. And we are also able to create idealized lines, idealized teeth with digital smile design, for example. So create a utopistic smile for the patient, which we are able to transfer in the mouse from plastic material, and the patient is able to see the new form and maybe the new color of the planned teeth before we even start to prepare the teeth. So this is something which is why we are printing models. The other one is, for example, if I wanted to find it here, if you are printing, for example, or creating a crown. So if you are creating a crown, you need a model which is carrying the crown, the restoration. And if the laboratory needs to layer it with some ceramics, you need to print a model to do some occlusion and see the dimensions, how many millimeter of ceramic is able to layer by the ceramist, for example. So there are a lot of indications when.
Do you have one of those? Do you have one of those models you can show us, or no?
I think yes. Wait a second.
He has
yes.
100 models next to him, but he's not
For
showing.
For example, this is a prepared tooth, as you can see here, without the crown. And then we are able to do the crown with digital technology, with the milling machine. And if we are doing it with a zirconium layered with ceramics, then we need to know exactly the dimensions. Or we can print a model, for example. This is an implant analog in the model, if you can see that. Yes. Mm-hmm. This is the implant analog in it, and we are able to create the implant crown on this analog. So we are able to build up implant retained restorations as well. So there are a lot of indications when we are able to use 3D printing technology in prosthodontics, but also in oral surgery, orthodontics, and for example, we can also print night guards or some sport guards for more elite athletes or average people who are doing regular sports. And this is something which is very easy. If you, for example, lost this product, we are able to reprint it in a very limited time. If you are losing the temporary restoration, we are able to print it again without any geographical restrictions. So if you are traveling, for example, from Europe to Australia and something happened with your dental product, the dentist from Hungary is able to transfer the STL file to Australia, and some local dentist is able to print it. And the patient can get the exact same product back in the mouth, the exact same restoration. So this is very fantastic.
Thank you so much, Daniel. This conversation is so valuable today for everybody. Thank you for your time today. Time is up right now, but I hope to continue this conversation some other time in the future. And like I said, I will follow up on the survey so that we can make it more valuable for everybody and also your survey more successful as well.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to speak with you and all the audience. I would like to say all the best from Budapest, and please take care in these very, very complicated times, and stay safe.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's it for this episode. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 3D Heals, and check out the links in the show notes. See you next time.